Welcome to the Deep Leadership Podcast. Today, I'm joined by Neil Jurd. Neil is the founder of Leader Connect, an online resource for leadership discussion and development. He is a former British Army officer who now teaches and trains executives and companies in leadership and team development. He has produced a series of leadership videos, which are now widely viewed. He is the author of The Leadership Book, a step-by-step guide to excellent leadership. And I'm honored to have him on the show to talk about leadership, especially in these times of uncertainty and change in the workplace. So Neil, welcome to the show.
Hi, John. Thank you. Lovely to meet you.
Yes, it's an honor to have you on the show. And I'm really excited about this discussion. And again, one of the things that really stood out when we first met was your videos. These things are fascinating. We're going to get a chance to talk about it, but these are just really good resources. And I really appreciate the fact that you put the effort in and got these out there because they're fantastic. But I want to start with your military career. You know, you rose to the rank of lieutenant colonel and served in a wide range of roles, including leading a Gurkha squadron in Iraq. So tell us a little bit about why you chose the military life, why you joined the Army, and some of your experiences during the Army.
Sure. Well, I always wanted to be a soldier. It wasn't really a conscious choice. I just there was nothing else that I would have done. I was an Army cadet, which is something that we have in the UK. It's similar to Scouts, but sponsored by the Army. So I was an Army cadet when I was at school. I got a scholarship to Sandhurst, which is our officer training academy. So that was my route into the Army. And then in the Army, I was actually a logistics specialist. I was a logistics officer, but I did a whole range of different things. Some you've mentioned. I also led a counter-terrorist training team in Yemen. As you said, I led a Gurkha squadron in Iraq. I was in Sierra Leone during the latter stages of the civil war. So I went all over the place. I also had a great year in Belize, which was fantastic. So I had some great tours and some more challenging ones.
So all in all, you spent something like 26 years in the military, is that right?
Yeah, regular and reserve. I think my regular service was 17 years.
Wow.
Then I became a reservist after that. And I still have a role actually as the director of officer training for the Army Cadet Force for adult volunteers.
Fantastic, fantastic. So you got into it and you stayed into it, and it's something that obviously was a passion for you. And yeah, that's fantastic. You had a long career. I spent 5 years in the military. That was about all that time I had, and I was ready to. I spent too much time under the ocean, and I said it's time to do something different. So
I think it's very different. You see, I like the sunshine. I used to try and get posted to the places with sunshine, whereas you clearly went the other way.
Yeah, it clearly went the other way. Yeah, no sunshine, no alcohol, no women, that sort of thing. Yeah. So, well, one thing I was looking through your bio, and you said, you were actually injured in it was, I guess, a mortar fire attack in Iraq. Tell us a little bit about that. And you actually had to be evacuated, and so what was that like?
It was, the thing that I most think of is The Matrix in terms of everything slowing down. So I was in, we were based at Basra Air Station and, Shaiba, but just outside the city. And I was on a convoy going into Basra Palace, which is one of Saddam Hussein's many stately homes. Yes. And we had a battalion base there, and I'd gone in to visit one of my officers who was supporting that battalion. And I remember we were just about to head off. Actually, we were just about to start the logistic patrol back to where we came from. And I was just chatting to people, and something very odd happened, and it looked like a Coca-Cola. I say it's very odd. I mean, we as anyone who served out there will know, I mean, we came under fire of some sort pretty much every day for the whole tour. But something like a Coca-Cola ring pull, like a little bit of
Mm,
metal,
yeah, yeah.
just went across the ground a few feet away from me, and it was really odd. And I still don't quite know what that was, but I have a feeling that it was the first mortar round landing and not detonating. Because then if I was with one of my warrant officers, and we kind of looked at each other and said, "Helmets?" Yeah, and we put our helmet. We were inside the base at this time, and we put our helmets on. And then a few seconds later, something landed and exploded. And I was looking right at it. There were a few of us around this area, and I saw this thing explode, and it was feet away. I mean, it was probably about three and a half meters away. I mean, it was very, very close. And it was a 82 millimeter mortar, which are pretty big bits of ordnance. And so I knew that this thing was exploding very close to me, and I was looking at it, and in all likelihood there was nothing I can do. Although things happen really slowly, of course you can't they're actually happening in milliseconds. And so I watched this thing explode. I thought, that's it, this is probably my time, or I'm going to get seriously hurt here.
Yeah.
I watched the shrapnel come out of it, and I one particular piece of shrapnel, which is now, I don't know how well you can see it, but is now in there. I watched it come out of the mortar. I remember thinking, that's going to get me in the eye, and then it didn't.
Wow.
And after that, there was time to take cover, and then there was just the rest of the barrage came in, and a lot of people were injured that day. There were 2 Chinook loads of kind of medical Kazivacs came in and took out the wounded. But yeah, it was a terrifying experience, actually. I mean,
yeah, wow.
So however much we do it for a job, and we know we take that risk, when it comes that close, it still makes you stop.
Yeah. How long was your recovery after?
Oh, hours. I was back at work 2
Oh,
days
really?
later.
Okay.
I wasn't Kazivac back to the UK. I went back to the field hospital, and I was treated. And then for our unit was doing a fairly major move the week after. We were moving everything, like our whole setup, with a couple of hundred soldiers and all of the logistics support for the British force. And we were doing that within days. I can't remember, but within a week. I've got pictures of me giving the orders for that operation, with my face looking like a successful squirrel, like totally swollen, like I had a mouthful of nuts. So no, I was lucky. I was extremely lucky.
Yeah, absolutely. To be able to see an explosion, to see the shrapnel, to see everything moving in slow motion, and then to be back at work right away, giving orders, and that's fascinating. I know, my experience, nothing like that, but you, like you say, you train for these things. You know that it's a possibility, but you never expect it to actually happen, and it did for you. So
yeah,
wow,
yeah, exactly.
So when did you start transitioning to after you left the military? I know you did you were with some other companies, but when did you start saying that you wanted to focus on leadership and helping organizations with leadership development? And why do you have such a passion for leadership like you have?
There's a few parts to that, John. So I left the army, and I was head of logistics for British Sugar, but then what I don't think you know, because I haven't mentioned it, but my wife died very suddenly in a crash when I was I'd been out of the army for a few weeks, and at the time my children were very young. They were 2 and 4, and it meant that I had to give up corporate life. I couldn't do hosting clients or working long hours while the kids needed me. So I stopped that type of work, and then over the next few years I was just invited to do stuff, to talk about leadership, or to could I work? It was friends actually saying, could you work with this person, or could you come and give a talk? And I did that, and that moved into me being a course director for an organization called the Leadership Trust. And then from there, I started to set my own stuff up. And I guess over the last few years, that's grown and grown. And there's now 12 people involved in administrating or delivering what I call my stuff.
That's great. That's good to hear. But I just go back to, I mean, you mentioned, your wife passing away, having to raise children there. I've had other guests on the show, similar situation, where they had young children, they lose their wife, and you're in, then you're talking about leading your family at that point, right? Leading young children, that loss of their mom, you lose a loved one, and yet again, it's like being injured and have to carry on. You are dealing with unimaginable grief, yet you have to be there for your two young children. So I imagine having that military experience was probably beneficial in dealing with that kind of a situation in your life.
I think so, and I always saw it that I had no option. I had to carry on. I had to look after the girls. I had to help them through what was totally devastating and inexplicable for them. For me, of course, I understood what had happened. For a 2-year-old, it's just they can't make sense of it. I think that I managed to find, or I understood the importance of purpose, and I set up a charity in memory of Michelle, my wife, and that gave me some kind of intellectual challenge outside of single parenting. I mean, single parenting is, as you'll realize, it's just incredibly tough. It's incredibly hard. You suddenly find you're making every decision on your own, and I didn't find it easy. I didn't. It is the hardest thing that I've done, was bringing up the girls when they were very young, and suddenly from being often away on tour in the early years of their lives, I'd be in Iraq or Yemen or whatever, and suddenly I was on my own looking after two children.
You were a 100% parent at that point.
Yeah, very much so.
How old are they today?
17 and 14.
Oh, wow. So that's powerful. And again, I think that's leadership right there. You have to lead, even, and I think so we find ourselves in leadership positions where emotionally we're struggling with something, yet we still have to carry on and we still have to move forward. And you had to be there for your children, despite your the emotions you're going through, you still had to be there for your children. I think leadership is that way too. Sometimes we're hurt physically or emotionally, and we still have to sort of raise the flag, smile, and move forward. And it's hard to do sometimes. And that's the leadership journey. Is sometimes it's a lot of stress, a lot of pressure. You're the one person in charge. And so that's I can imagine that. I can only imagine how difficult that would be. Unfortunately, it hasn't happened to me, but very difficult. So going back to the leadership side, you talk a little bit about the importance of leadership, especially now. I mean, we've got post-COVID, we've got economic recovery. That's the economy is struggling in a lot of countries, especially in the United States right now, and the UK. I understand. Why is leadership so important post-COVID with all the changes in the workplace? Why is it more important than ever?
I think leadership is how things happen. If things are wrong, if things aren't working well, and there's a better state that we want to achieve, to get people to work together, to get people to move towards it, we need leadership. And leadership for me is about being clear what you're trying to achieve. I talk about clear and compelling purpose, and then connecting people with that purpose, that being the role of the leader. And so when you see something that's wrong, whether it's in a school, whether it's in a factory, whether it's at the national level, it's leadership which will make the difference, that puts that issue right. And we need great leadership. I mean, just getting us through COVID, you can see the parts of the world that were really well led, and the fact that they lost fewer people to COVID. I mean, right. Leadership's what makes things happen and what keeps people safe.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I think especially when there's times of uncertainty and there's chaos, you know, I always liken it to, you know, at sea, when the seas are calm and everything is easy, you don't necessarily look to leaders, you know, but when the seas are rough and you're in a major storm, as I was, North Atlantic, heavy, you know, massive winter storm, I look to the captain like, I hope you know what you're doing, you know, like you look to leaders when the time gets, when things get ugly. And I think that we're in a time right now where there is a lot of uncertainty. And so we are looking to our leaders to guide, set direction, set purpose, communicate that purpose. And for us to, you know, to have faith in the people that are in charge, that they know what they're doing. You know, you're looking at the storm going, I really hope you know what you're doing right now, you know?
Yeah, very much so. Looking hopefully at the leaders, hoping that they know what they're doing. Yeah.
Hoping they know what they're doing. Exactly. We mentioned it a little bit, but you developed a series of leadership videos, and you recently did this doodle video, which is absolutely wonderful. I love it because it's just such a good leadership primer. And you know, it's hard to take all these ideas and compress them in a way that is easily digestible. And why have you chosen videos as a teaching tool?
It's funny when you say it's hard. So when you pay the doodle artist £650 a minute, it's remarkable how easy it is to compress your ideas when there's a very clear bill for them. But I wanted to, so for me, leadership's really simple. And I think it comes down to a few basic behaviors, being really clear what you're trying to, the things I say in the video, which are about connection and direction, like really connecting with people and being clear what you're trying to achieve. And I think there's a lot of literature, a lot of stuff online, on YouTube, wherever, that complicates leadership. People try to intellectualize it to the point that your average person can't make any sense of it. So the idea with the video was to, in 6 minutes, tell you what to do. If you follow that, if you know nothing else, you'll probably improve your leadership. You will be more effective if you do those things. So that was the thinking behind it.
I absolutely love it, because one of the things I struggle with as someone that's trying to teach, train, promote leadership is that the people that are traditionally good leaders already are consuming leadership books and podcasts, and they're going to seminars, they're watching TED Talks, they want to get better. And it's the people that are maybe less self-aware, or that are traditionally a bad boss, if you will, they're not taking the time to consume leadership content. But the video itself could sneak into their whatever, on their social media page or something, and then they start, out of curiosity, you sort of watch it to see where it's going. Especially the way that doodle video is set, you want to know where it's headed, because there's sort of like a flow to it. And so you may just capture those people that are traditionally not looking for leadership literature, and all of a sudden they just got themselves a leadership lesson. And that's the thing I like about it, is you might capture those people that are traditionally staying away from the kind of things that we're trying to do as leadership educators.
It's leadership by stealth, and a lot of leaders, a lot of people in senior positions, think that they should already know it all, and that there'd be some sort of an admission of weakness in learning more, in doing leadership training. And I've found, and I don't know whether it's the same in the States, but most people in leadership positions have had no leadership training, and in quite senior positions. So the error just gets compounded more and more as they become more senior, without really having any leadership foundations to base it on. So yeah, if I can get these ideas in front of people without them noticing, well, that would be great.
Yeah, that's what I think is happening, and that's why I like the idea. You know, you say something in the one video that I really like. You say leadership is about passion and purpose, not privilege and position.
Yeah.
That's strange from a military guy, right? Isn't it all about your rank that's important? Isn't that what leadership is?
But I don't think you believe that either.
No, I do not.
And no, I mean, it's absolutely not. People will obey the rank, but they'll only obey, and you have to do all of the thinking for them, and you have to direct absolutely every aspect of their work, because they're not excited, they're not engaged, they haven't bought into your idea. I think I say in the video that I see rank as the most, or grade position as the most fragile forms of influence that we have. And if you're ever pulling rank to get stuff done, you pretty much failed. Those people aren't with you. There's no energy, there's no creativity, there's no buzz. They're not working at the same thing that you're working at. They're not working towards that objective. They're just trying to stay out of trouble and trying to please the boss. So no, I think with rank comes the responsibility ultimately to make sure that you're clear what the objective is and that the objective is met. But beyond that, you're going to have people who are cleverer than you, more innovative than you, more creative than you. And from my own leadership background, I know what it is to lead lots of people who are better at almost everything than me. You know, specialists, especially in any company. The more technical the company is, the more ridiculous it is if the boss wants to be the expert at everything.
You can't be, absolutely can't be. Yeah, and I think the sooner you realize that as a boss, and you realize that the collective wisdom of your team is what is what's available to you. It's kind of mind blowing when you say, "Oh, I don't have to know everything, but I have to have the right people around me that do know how to do everything, and that there are experts in, especially as a startup company." During our journey as startup, there were experts in certain areas that would just like, I got this, we're putting a computer system in, I got this, and we're setting up a sales team. Another guy's like, I got this, we're setting up the manufacturing operation, I got this. So there were experts along the way. And I sort of had to just make sure that the direction was clear, but I also got out of the way, got good people working for me, and basically get out of the way, and then remove obstacles and make sure that they had everything they needed to be successful. That was more my mission. It wasn't telling them how to do things. It was sort of saying, this is where we're headed. What do you need from me to get there? Type of thing. And when you stand back and let great people do what they love to do, magic happens, right? It's something that's unusual. You don't see this in most places. When it does happen, it's a fun thing to see when everything's hitting on all cylinders and everybody's doing what they love to do, and you as a group are achieving objectives. It's fun.
Yes, but most leaders, or many leaders, think that it's kind of their job to control and to almost be a martyr to the organization, and it slows things down. And what you describe, it's exactly it. This idea of the boss getting out the way, nobody ever teaches that, but it's so important.
No, not at all. Yeah, you're right. Exactly. It's very important that we give our good people, hire great people, and let them do great things.
Yes.
And I think we sort of miss out on that. So sometimes we hire these, people come to our companies and they've got, they've spent their whole life preparing to work to get a job at our firm.
Yeah.
And the first thing we do is we tell them, there's your cubicle, here's your procedures for, filling out an expense report, here's your procedure for this, here's this. And we just burden them with rules, but I'm a really good engineer. Well, you'll get grunt work for the first 5 years before you get a chance to bring your creativity to the table. And I think that's disheartening when I see that in companies where we don't let good people bring their best to work every day.
Yeah. Very common.
Yep. One thing I was going to say is you in the video, you also said that at Sandhurst, the Royal Military Academy Sandhurst, that has the motto "Serve to Lead." Why should today's managers consider adopting a similar type of motto? Why is that motto? Why is it there in the first half, and what does it mean?
So for me, it's the idea that as the leader, actually one of the points I make in the book is that as the leader, you are and you shouldn't consider that you are any better than anybody else in the team. It's just your job to lead. That's your role. You don't have that position because of because of your brilliance, because you're inherently better. You're just a team member, and you serve the team by doing your job really well. It is an act of service to be a really good leader, and so therefore you should study leadership, and you should make sure that your leadership is really effective. But then also in the service, this idea of service is the idea, and people talk a lot about servant leadership. I think it might be the same concept, but the idea, there's a humility in leadership. There's an army thing that we were taught at Sandhurst was about checking your soldiers' feet after a route march, and I mentioned that in the book. The fact that you genuinely care, you look at people's feet. If they've got blisters, if you either help treat them or you make sure that they get treatment for them, but you genuinely care for these people that you look after. You look after them. I mean, in the business context, looking after them will be different from that, but it would be making sure that they're enabled, making sure if they've got something going on at home that's distracting them, that you look after them. If they need some time off to come back as their best self, you give it to them. So you look after the people and that gives them the freedom to do the job really well.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. Yeah, I agree with you. And even, I know when I'm out on the shop floor and I'm looking at people, I'll notice, are they wearing their safety glasses? And it's not because I want them to follow the rules. I do it because I care for them, and I don't want them to get hurt while they're out in the shop. I'm looking to see if they've got their steel toe shoes. I'm making sure that if they're on the forklift, they've got their seatbelt on. So it's about, but when they see me do it, because they know me, they know I do it because I care and I don't want to see them hurt. And I actually tell them that, I'll say, hey, you should wear your seatbelt when you're doing that, because if this forklift goes over, you don't want to get crushed. And that's the whole point of wearing, oh, thanks, I forgot about it. I don't want to see you get hurt. I actually say that. I don't want to see you get hurt. And it's this idea of caring, it's not compliance, it's caring. And I think there's a difference between the two.
Yeah, very much so. And I also have this problem. I mentioned privilege elsewhere. I think that it's in the video, but the idea of this kind of divine right to lead. And I found the people who think they have a divine right to lead often make the absolute worst leaders, because they're not serving. They don't see it as service at all. They think that everyone's there to serve them because of their privilege, because of their background. But these are the people that nobody wants to work for. They're in it for themselves. And I just don't buy that. I think that anyone can lead effectively, and however humble your background, it just doesn't matter. Anyone can lead if you've got a purpose. And many of the best leaders have had to work really hard to get where they are.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it doesn't, I think humility is a big part of it. I think the fact that I always say this is that the people closest to the customer, the people adding value to our products, the people that are talking to the customers on the phone, our call centers, anyone that's in direct contact with customers are much more important than me as the boss. Much more important. I don't talk to customers every day. I don't build the products that end up at our customer site. So they are more important than I am. And I have to make sure they have what they need to be successful to take care of our customers. And I think it's like that inverted pyramid, they say. The boss is actually not at the top, but at the bottom, really. It's in terms of importance. It's what's important is the hourly employee that's assembling this product that's going in a box. That has to be right. If I screw up, on an email, it's not going to affect my customer quality, So,
but that person on the assembly line or whatever they're doing, they need you to be passionate about leadership, which, luckily for them, you are.
yeah, absolutely. Yes. So your book is actually called The Leadership Book, which I love the title of. And the subtitle is A Step-by-Step Guide to Excellent Leadership. But when you wrote it, what was the purpose behind actually writing the book and getting it all in writing? What was your hopes for the book when you first wrote it?
Do you know, actually, the title, when I wrote it, it had a more convoluted title, what I thought was a more snappy title. And obviously it was for sale on, the first outlet was through Amazon, but through a friend of mine who was a seller on Amazon. And he said, Neil, change the title. So why? He said, well, if people want a book about leadership, what are they going to type into Google? The leadership book. So, or leadership book.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we called it The Leadership Book, because if you're looking for a leadership book, you absolutely will find mine.
You found it. You're right.
Yeah. In terms of what it's about, well, I see leadership as really simple, and the book and the videos all capture leadership in a series of short lessons, be they chapters or kind of 8-minute videos. And I've found it strange that there's so much noise around leadership, so much intellectualization and theory, whereas it really comes down to a few basic things. And I just thought I should write it down. I just thought instead of I just needed to do something about it. So I just started writing my ideas, and I've always enjoyed writing. It was lockdown, actually, where I wrote the book. We were not allowed anywhere here for months, and that was great. It was a sunny summer, and I just spent time thinking and writing and put my ideas in one place. In terms of what it's there for, I think anyone can lead, and I want people to know that. And I think the world would be a significantly better place if we were well led, not manipulated, not dominated, not coerced, but genuinely led by people who were there to serve us in all of our best interests. So for me, leadership's everything. And where you get unhappiness, where you get inequality, where you get miserable places to work, where you get poor education, you'll find an absence of leadership. Yeah. So by getting these simple ideas out there, I'm hoping that there's a ripple effect where people's lives will be made better because they read the book or they follow the videos and they just make these changes.
I love it. I think that's great, and it's a great passion project of yours, I can tell. And the results is people read it and they understand it. I think you're right. We do need better leadership. We lack it in a lot of places. I see it. I know it's frustrating to be someone that loves leadership and loves good leadership. When you see bad leadership especially in a public level, big companies or governments, and you're just like, how can a population this big put a person like that in charge? And it's hard to deal with when not to get political, but how do they not know? Right. Exactly.
We end up led by people who've been advised by focus groups and who've been
right.
Who've got lots of interest in, lots of investment in them, lots of think tanks, but they've had almost no leadership training. Again, very few senior politicians have actually had leadership training. They're trained in everything apart from the absolute core of what they're there to do for us, which is lead.
Which is to lead. Lead, communicate, tell us direction. What's your vision? What's the hope? I just think it's painfully missing in a lot of cases. So so this has been fascinating. I really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing all this. I want to encourage people to find the videos. They're fun to watch. I think they're really great, and they really condense difficult leadership lessons in like one easy place, and easy to understand. I think they're really well done. And the leadership book, fantastic. I didn't get a chance to dive in too deep about it, but there's a lot of great stuff in the book. that I do encourage people to look for. It's called The Leadership Book, a step-by-step guide to excellent leadership. Neil, how can people find out more about your books, your videos, your website?
I think the easiest way actually is to find our app, which you can now get to through Apple. Is it Apple Store and Google Play, or the other way around? But you can get through the two main platforms. It's the Leader Connect app. We've only launched that a week ago. Also, leaderconnect.co.uk is our main site. We've got a podcast, nothing like yours, John, but we've got a podcast. We get some interesting people on there. Again, it's Leader Connect. It's on all the main platforms. And the book, I know you can get it through Amazon in the States.
You can, yeah.
It's also
I found it.
You did you?
Yeah.
So any of those, and obviously, I think if you type in my name, it will lead you to most of that stuff. And we've got a YouTube as well, which is where the doodle video that you like is on.
Okay, very good. We'll put links to that in the show notes. And for those of you following me on social media, I'll probably retweet that video a few more times. I love it. And it's like such a great video. And we'll put links to all these resources in the show notes. So Neil, thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for having a passion towards leadership, and then doing your best to get the word out in very creative ways like these videos and your book. So thank you for doing what you do.
John, thank you. And thank you so much for having me on the show. I've loved this. It's been I've kind of wanted to meet you for a while. So it's been great, actually. Thank you. Same here. I really enjoyed the discussion, and look forward to continue to talk leadership with you in the future. Brilliant. Cheers, John. Bye.
Bye-bye. Well, that's it for today. Thank you for listening to Deep Leadership. If you like this podcast, please subscribe and share so we can continue to build a world with better bosses. Until next time, this is John Rennie saying take care and lead well.